ticking clock.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another exciting episode of Hanging Out with Chops. I'm so glad to see so many of you coming back for these episodes. Like always, a big shout out to all you returning listeners. And for all you here for the first time, thank you for joining us. My name is Choppy Chops. I'm a recording engineer by trade. We discuss a lot about recording, what happens in these magical booths, and what happens outside of the studio. Because like we always say, it's always connected. Today I want to talk about something that's been sitting in the back of my mind for a while. And the more I think about it, the more I realize, well, we've been heading in this direction for quite some time. With AI, with current recording techniques and editing techniques, when do we say when? When is too much too much? When do we start losing the human aspect to music? If I can tune your vocal part perfectly, is that really you singing anymore? If I can fix your drums and help you play that riff you can never pull off on stage, is that really music? At what point does it stop being art and just become something else? So that's what we're going to talk about today, guys. How much is too much? Maybe you've thought about this too. Let's get into it.
We're hanging out with Chops. Time just never stops. Answers fade like drops on a broken ticking clock.
Let's go way back. This is maybe mid-80s. I remember the first time I really started understanding MIDI. Back then, there was no such thing as digital audio workstations, or DAWs, like we call them now. If you had a computer, the most you could do was probably sequence on it. It was probably cakewalk, if you were lucky. It wasn't just understanding MIDI, but I actually understood what it meant. I could program drums, I could move notes around, I can change sounds, I can fix timing, and I remember sitting there thinking, that's it, I won. Now for some of you out there that may not know what MIDI is, MIDI stands for Musical Instrumental Digital Interface. But what it means for us in the recording world is a little different. Think of MIDI as the music behind the sound you're making. So MIDI kind of looks like a piano player roll, just like they used to have in the Old West, where it's like a sheet of paper with a bunch of linear holes punched in it that tell the piano notes when to play, but the electronic version of that. So what does MIDI tell me? Well, MIDI tells me what note I played, what other notes I played in conjunction with that note, how hard I hit those notes, how long I held those notes, was anything activated, was I pressing a pedal while I played those notes, was I releasing a pedal while I was playing those notes, did I adjust my attack, did I adjust my release while I was playing those notes. So it's the music behind the sound I'm making, just to bring you up to speed. But when I was realizing and finally understanding MIDI, what I didn't realize at that time was I wasn't just figuring something out. I was stepping into something that was going to change everything. Then, a couple years later, I remember walking into a producer's house, and I'll never forget it. He had keyboards lined up and down the wall. I mean, literally long ways, one touching another. No way anybody could actually get behind those keyboards and play them. He just had them stacked up against the wall. What in the world was he doing? And then I saw he was actually running MIDI to every single keyboard. And every single keyboard only played one channel of music. So he had, for example, piano going into the first keyboard, maybe strings going into the second one, maybe horns coming out of the third one, maybe woodwinds coming out of the fourth one, maybe percussion out of the fifth, maybe drums out of the sixth, and so on and so forth, all around that room. I remember back then it wasn't even MIDI via USB. I don't even think it was 5-pin MIDI to 5-pin MIDI. If I remember correctly, it was 5-pin MIDI to serial port. I'm talking about straight into the computer serial port. Man, you had to really want it back then. But I specifically remember thinking, wait a minute, nobody's actually playing anything. He was writing his MIDI on that sequencer, running the sequencer out via MIDI into keyboard 1 into keyboard 2 into keyboard 3, so on and so forth, and then running audio out of every single keyboard into his mixer. And instead of a band, he actually had a band of keyboards. There weren't any musicians in there. He was just triggering all the music. And at that time, it felt like power. I remember thinking, man, I can't wait to get a setup like this myself. I could do it all. I wouldn't have to get a bunch of guys, teach them the music, and then have them mess it up, and then have me have to fix it, and then finally get the tracks I wanted. I could do it this way, and man, I would have control of everything. Hey, fast forward a couple of more years. Now I can fix timing perfectly. I can tune vocals perfectly. We can move entire sections around like pieces on a chessboard. We can take something that was almost there, make it sound flawless. Don't get me wrong, I do, every single day. I grid drums, I tune vocals, I edit like crazy when I have to. I'm not outside of this, I'm deep in it. But somewhere along the way, something started to feel different. We stopped capturing performances, and we started constructing them. That reminds me of this book I came across some time back, Player Piano. It's by Kirk Vonnegut. I'm not going to turn this into some book report, but the idea is simple. A world where machines do everything perfectly, and the people are still there, but they don't really have a place anymore. In the book, people aren't starving. They're not dying. Everything works. And even though they're broken into two classes, class one is like engineers, doctors, and the other class is people that were replaced by automation and machines. Even those people, with the little wealth they have, achieve a lot more material stuff than you would think. But the main thing that's missing is meaning. They have no reason to wake up in the morning. They have no reason to get out of bed. They have no reason to go anywhere. Life is not that difficult, but it doesn't have meaning. It reminds me a lot of when drum machines were first starting to come around, and probably all the drummers thought they were going to get replaced. But I guess it's all a cycle. You have drum machines come out, people start using drum machines a little bit, then they start using drum machines a lot, then it's all drum machines and no drums, and then slowly it starts to evolve back the other way. A little bit of drum machine, a little bit of drums, real drums, and then eventually you're all the way back to just real drums and no drum machine. And then years will go by, and then eventually it'll be real drums, and then they start adding a little bit of drum machine, and it becomes a cycle. And maybe this is what's happening with technology. You get that cycle of a little bit of real, and then it starts to lean to a little bit of technology. Then a little less real, a little more technology. Almost no real, all technology. And then the pendulum starts to swing the other way. A little less technology, a little more real introduced. A little more real introduced, a little less technology. Before you know it, it's half and half. Then it becomes majority real, minority technology. And now we're back to all real, no technology. Perhaps the pendulum will swing again. A little less real, a little bit technology. A little less more real stuff, a little more technology, and there we go. The cycle continues. This episode of Hanging Out with Chops is brought to you by absolutely nobody. We checked. No sponsors, just you. If this show's helping you, hit the support link in the description. That's how we keep things going. Hanging Out with Chops. Sponsored by you, the listener. And when I read that, I didn't really think about factories. I thought about the studio, because I've seen it. I've seen bands walk in full of energy, full of identity, and by the time the record is done, it sounds incredible, but something feels different. Sometimes the record is tighter than they could ever play it. Sometimes the vocals are better than they can consistently deliver. Sometimes the record becomes a version of them that doesn't really actually exist. And here's where it gets real. I've seen bands fall apart after that. Not because the record failed, because the record was too perfect. Players were replaced, parts get rewritten, session guys come in, and little by little, the band that made the record isn't the band anymore. So let me ask you something, and I really want you to sit and think on this for a sec. If a machine or a system, or let's say AI, can make a perfect song with perfect timing, perfect pitch, perfect everything, perfect imagery, perfect play on words, but nobody struggled to make it. Nobody fought for it. Nobody lived inside the song. Does it mean anything? Because when I think of the records that stayed with me, they weren't perfect. The tempo moved. The singer cracked. The band pushed the chorus just enough to make it feel exciting. Hey, Miles Davis, Kinda Blue. It's one of my favorite records, probably the most played record in my playlist. I've played that album backwards and forwards a zillion times, and I've heard mistakes up and down, left and right on that album. To me, it's perfect. I wouldn't change a thing. It's so human. I love it. I absolutely love it. Coltrane. I mean, not to get off on a whole other tangent, but Coltrane recorded 2 tracks on Kinda Blue, then went spit out part of Giant Steps, and then came back and did some more Kinda Blue. Oh my God, those 2 albums are so different from each other. Miles Davis. I mean, I can go on forever on that. Cannonball Adderley. I love that album. You know what? I also love the mistakes. There's certain parts where I can hear Miles Davis notes didn't completely come out. Some notes got choked off. Awesome. There's weird bleeds in the microphones. Love it. Now, to me, those aren't mistakes. They're fingerprints. That's the whole human part of it. That's a whole human aspect. And I think that's what we're in danger of losing. Not the music. I mean, music is always going to exist. Music has been around for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, and it'll continue to exist hundreds of years from now. But what about the meaning? What it means? That's a different story. Just like Miles Davis, I don't listen to it to just listen to the music. I listen to it because I connect to it. I put that album on and I am chill. Man, that album just makes me feel good. I don't care what kind of mood I'm on. I put that album on and it is serenity for me. I don't know if you can automate that. And maybe that's the responsibility now for people like us on this side of the glass. Not to make everything perfect, but to know when to stop. To know when the imperfections are actually the thing that makes it work. To know when to leave a little bit of humanity in there. Because at some point, the musicians left the room, but the music kept playing. And maybe the goal was never perfection. Maybe the goal was honesty. The goal is music that sounds like somebody was actually there. Music that sounds like something was at stake. People want music they can hold on to, not perfection. Hey, maybe I got it all wrong. Maybe eventually AI gets that good, where they start throwing in wrong notes. They start to humanize algorithms to where they can convince you. Who knows? Maybe they're studying that part of the brain already. Let's say the connection part of the brain. And they're just figuring out that, hey, all you need is this algorithm, that algorithm, and boom, they love it. So I'm just saying, guys, how much is too much? Honestly. All right. That's what's been on my mind, guys. If you ever been in a session where you felt that, or you heard a record that's a little too perfect, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I say, let the band jam, let the band hook up, and let them play to the best of their ability. That's a band. Now they choose to want to take it to another step, fine, that's cool. Or maybe the answer is 2 versions. Maybe the answer is everything should be released in a human version. This is the best way we could actually play it. And then the super polished, this is the version technology can do. Who knows? But as the guys that hold the control, how far do we really want to take it? Guys, like always, thank you so much for hanging out with me. Just something I had in the back of my mind I wanted to share with y'all. Sometimes I get these kooky thoughts and I figured, hey, that might make a good podcast theme or topic to discuss with y'all. Like always, thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I'll catch you on the next one. I'm out.
Ticking clock. Stories told without a clue, lost in chaos.